It's good to have our good friend Charles McElwee back in our studios again. He is a member of the board of directors for the Greater Hazleton Historical Society and Museum, always bringing us little tidbits of history from days gone by here in our area. And today you want to focus on, I guess, World War I history in the city of Hazleton, specifically Hazleton City Hall.
If you enter City Hall in the lobby, you'll look on the left-hand side, you'll see a memorial, a tribute to those soldiers in Hazleton who fought in World War I. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the U.S. entry into the war. President Woodrow Wilson at the time, April 1917, appeared before Congress and requested to begin military warfare against Germany. Germany was not abiding by its pledge to cease unrestricted submarine warfare, and that necessitated our entry into that war. And it's a war that continues to haunt us. It's a very consequential period of American history. And it was really in 1914 when Europe broke out in war, that summer that really changed everything, the course of the 20th century, that we actually had a mayor with ties to Europe. James Harvey, who was from England. He was Cornish. He lived on Vine Street. He was a miner as a child. And he had become a long-term elected official in Hazleton. And during the war, throughout the course of the military operations, Harvey would lay out maps of Europe on the table in the mayor's office and follow the course of the war. He was obviously pulling for Great Britain to prevail against Germany, and it's really a tribute to Hazleton's role, whether we see those who served in the entrance of City Hall, or even a book by William Bachman that came out shortly thereafter called the Triple the Delta 11. And really, it's a war we tend to forget. 115,000 Americans were killed, and that's more than all the conflicts post-World War II, Korea, Vietnam, all those conflicts combined. And it's a war that continues to shape our geopolitics. And Hazleton certainly had its share of men who fought during that period.
Well, it's amazing that that tribute is in City Hall, and oftentimes we walk by and we don't realize the significance of what transpired.
We don't. And when you look at the modern map, even of the Middle East, when we are engaged in Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan, but really the modern map of the Middle East was a consequence of first the collapse of colonial empires, and second the Sykes-Picot Agreement, which created the boundaries of the modern Middle East. So all the military conflicts that we see today are indirectly or directly a result of our presence, our entry into World War I. America really shaped the international world order, and like the Iraq War at the time, it was a war that was more popular than it was in hindsight. And clearly, the unpopularity of that war would be understandable considering what happened after that war. We slipped into a depression, and then we entered a Second World War that combined in the first half of the 20th century, over 100 million people were killed. So when we look at that history, when we look at that barbarity, it's not that long ago. And I think it's appropriate that when you enter City Hall, we're reminded to not forget, and that it's a war that continues to follow us and shape the modern map of the world.
Absolutely. Another historical event that maybe many people were not familiar with. Thank you, Charles, for enlightening us on that. And if you want to know more about the Greater Hazleton Historical Society, you can stop by for a visit, or you can check them out on Facebook.